Hello and welcome to Prep Playbook Review. I'm Jim Rapier. Today we'll be looking back at some of the highlights of last week's high school football postseason. And joining me from the North Shore via Skype to help with our review is Prep sports writer Jim Derry. How's it going, Jim? You ready to get started?
Going great. It was a wild Friday night, last Friday in the Dome. Let's get going.
Yes, it was. All right, Jim. Before we jump into some of the highlights from the select title games, as you just mentioned, let's touch on Destrehan taking down West Monroe 27-22 in the Class 5A semifinals. How impressive was that win by the Wildcats?
You know, the thing that was impressive to me is they took the big lead against West Monroe, and then they overcame. As West Monroe came charging back, they were able to come back and get the big touchdown at the end, and then able to hold on there. Big win for the Wildcats. They could have folded their tents against a seasoned team, and the Rebels, who are, you know, they know how to get to the Dome. They've been there plenty of times, but Coach Robichaux's team came through. The Wildcats, I predicted them to be in the Dome 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, whenever we came out with the predictions, and I think they got an excellent chance to come through and win a state championship on Saturday.
And of course, they'll have to get past Acadiana to do it. All right, let's shift gears, Jim. You and I had the pleasure of broadcasting the select state title games online for NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune, last Friday night. Ouachita Christian and Calvary Baptist captured the Division IV and Division III state titles, respectively. What was your take on both of those games?
Well, you know, I think both of those games were well, the Division IV game, not so exciting. I was a little surprised, I guess, by the outcome. Ouachita Christian, you know, they rolled over Southern Lab. I really thought it was going to be a tight game. They just played fantastic from the get-go, and you know, things kind of started to crumble a little bit for Southern Lab early on, and they just couldn't overcome those turnovers and the fumbles and the mistakes that they made. And it was just a fantastic performance. Ouachita Christian, you got to give them all the credit in the world. They came through.
How'd you feel about Calvary Baptist?
Well, Calvary, everybody knew that was going to be a fantastic game. It certainly was. It was clearly the best two teams in Division III. And Calvary Baptist, led by Shea Patterson and Orlando Bradford, who you see there with the run, and Shun Brown had a fantastic game in the receiving end of it. Calvary Baptist, just a fantastic dynamic team. I would call them a dynamic team. And Catholic had some fantastic trick plays, some of the best trick plays we've seen all season. But in the end, Calvary just came through. They were a little bit better team.
All right, Jim, and that was a heck of a game there. In the Division II championship game, district rivals University Lab and Parkview Baptist squared off. Parkview started strong, but how impressive was ULab's rally for the championship?
You know, Nick Brossette, who is one of the more dynamic running backs in the state, he made some big mistakes. Parkview took the lead, but you know what? When it came down to crunch time, Brossette and ULab were able to come through when they needed to. And I tell you what, it was very impressive to see them hold on. Another team that could have folded their tent a little bit, because Parkview had all the momentum, had all the confidence, but ULab, the number one seed, came through and made the plays. And you know, before we let you go, you know, Will Keller, you see what we never really talked about him. We talked about him in the broadcast with the 2 block punts, but how big was he?
Oh, well, actually, I think it ended up being 3 block punts. But, I mean, that's insane how well he played. And, you know, he also plays on offense, and just a great effort. And we saw the highlight there of Brossette, who just bulled his way into the end zone several times. A great rally for the title for the Cubs. All right, Jim, lastly, maybe saving the big one for last. The Jesuit-John Curtis clash for the Division I state championship created quite the energized atmosphere, to say the least, in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Jesuit pulled out a 17-14 victory. Now that you've had a chance to digest it, think about it, looking back on it, what are your thoughts?
You know, you said during the broadcast that sometimes games live up to the hype, and they usually don't. This one absolutely led up to the hype. It was a fantastic game. We were on the edges of our seats the entire game, especially the whole second half. Both teams gave everything they had, and I think for the most part, at least in the second half, they played almost as well as they could have. They had some weird penalties here, and you know, a turnover or two there, but you know, it was just fantastic football. It doesn't get any better than that. 17-14. What an effort, especially for the Blue Jays, their first state championship since 1960. I can honestly say I don't think that I've been I don't think that I've seen a better state championship game. There have been better state championship games, I'm sure, but I don't think that I've been there to witness one and cover one like I covered that game. That was fantastic.
And just a shout out to the amount of fans that packed the dome for that one. It was incredible. You see the Jesuit crowd there, them celebrating the state title. It was unbelievable. It was a sea of white in the dome. All right, that was just an action-packed day of high school football. And Jim, I can't thank you enough for giving us some added input in terms of looking back on it.
Oh, and I'm looking forward to this weekend as well. So let's have another weekend like we had last Friday night.
I'm looking forward to it. And don't forget, you can follow all of Jim's work as well as all of our writers at highschoolsports.NOLA.com. This week, that includes video previews for the non-select state championship games, and there'll be 5 of them in the Dome. Also, Jim Derry and I will be broadcasting online, all 5 non-select state championship games. So stay with highschoolsports.NOLA.com. And that's it for this edition of Prep Playbook Playoff Review. For Jim Derry, I'm Jim Rapier. Thanks for clicking on us.